It's the Wednesday edition, Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Vaughn, back at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. Mr. Irrelevant with me is brought to you by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits, doorcountydistillery.com. Lots to get into today, including the day 2 of Packers minicamp going on right now in Green Bay. We also have some drama going on in New York with the Packers' former quarterback. I'm just so happy he's gone. We'll get into that. Jordan Love talked a little bit, and I mean a little bit, about his contract extension talks going on with the Packers and his agent, so we'll get into that, as well as we will play a game of 10 true or false questions regarding the Packers' upcoming season. All that still ahead on Mr. Irrelevant. But I want to start with Game 3 of the NBA Finals, which goes on tonight from Dallas. The Celtics up 2-0 in the NBA Finals over the Dallas Mavericks. And look, dude, I am just so confused this NBA playoffs about injuries and things I have never heard of before, because that continues to pop out as Kristaps Porzingis currently dealing with, and I will do my best here, with what they are calling a rare injury. But it is the following: a torn medial retiniculum, I think, allowing dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon in his left leg. Now, I don't know what any of that means. I know he's got a left leg injury, but we remember some of the weird injuries that, like, Giannis had, the soleus injury. I'd never heard of that before. I'm just very confused what all these injuries are, Hunter. We might be making stuff up at this point. I don't know what. I've never heard of any of the. I've been watching sports a long time. I've never heard of any of these injuries that we have seen come to light in the NBA playoffs. It is very confusing for me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to use Google to look up an injury. I don't understand how these insiders like Shams and Woj and Schefter don't understand their audience. Like, no one's going to know what that means. You can look it up yourself and put in the legwork and then tell us that it's a couple of small tendons that hold your kneecap in place, like I found out when I looked this up. Like, I don't understand why they can't just do that. They should be the ones putting in the work if they're going to get paid all this money to be insiders, to get texts from front office executives. I'm not happy with these insiders.
So you're mad at Woj for using the term, what was it again? I just had it. It was the torn medial retinaculum, I don't know, allowing dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon in his left leg, from ESPN.com.
Yeah, we don't need all that. I looked it up, and it's a couple of tendons that connect to your kneecap. That's all this is.
Okay.
Not
so
all this is.
Injury.
Yeah, basically. Just that's all you have to say.
He's got a strained kneecap. That would make more sense to me. Porzingis said Tuesday to reporters, quote, "I felt something, and now I have to deal with it," end quote. It's true. He has to deal with it. It's well said, Kristaps. Tingus Pingus, as the kids call him. Look, I like Kristaps. I think he had a really nice game 1. I think he does have an effect on the series. It's do or die time now for the Dallas Mavericks. They got to win tonight. They're 2.5, 3.5 point favorites, depending on the book you look at. They've got to win tonight. It ain't rocket science, right? You go down 3-0, this series is over. This series is probably already over, but we'll see if they have a little bit of a response in them here tonight in Game 3. That's all I care about. I'll watch it. I'm excited for it. I love the NBA Finals. I love watching Luka. I love watching Kyrie. I love watching Jaylen Brown. These are fun teams. It's a fun series, but it might be over before it even begins if the Celtics are able to pull off a road win tonight. So we will see what comes of that. All right, I want to get to a ton of things from Packers minicamp as that kicked off yesterday, mandatory minicamp. A couple of guys with excused absences, which today includes Josh Jacobs. Yesterday, Keyshawn Nixon, Jair Alexander, and Xavier McKinney all excused as well. So 4 veterans, 2 new additions, though, and Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney excused from the mandatory minicamp. It's viewed as more of a young guy game right now at Packers minicamp. So day 2 going on right now. We've got a little bit of live action going on, but reminder, there's no pads at mandatory minicamp. So it's take it with a grain of salt always. So a couple of notes from today's practices before we get to the Jordan Love stuff. Offensive line, we'll start there. It is exactly what you would expect outside of maybe right tackle. So from left to right, it goes Rasheed Walker to Elton Jenkins to Josh Myers to Sean Ryan at right guard. And the right tackle is Andre Dillard, which is a signing, kind of a small signing they made this offseason. The former first-round pick, Andre Dillard, spent his career in Tennessee and last couple of years in Philadelphia. Lands in Green Bay now. Former first-round pick looking to get you've heard this saying a million times. A change of scenery can be good for players. That's what they hope here with Andre Dillard, who can kind of be a swing tackle guy for them. I would not anticipate him, obviously, with Zach Tom still dealing with the injury he's dealing with. He'll be obviously a right tackle. But with Dillard, you don't expect him to be out there unless you're dealing with an injury. Obviously, with the drafting of Jordan Morgan, that's another guy they'd like to be a swing tackle who's more of a natural left tackle. But that's of note, right? Andre Dillard getting the first team reps over the first-round pick here in mandatory OT or mandatory minicamp. But just something to keep an eye on, obviously, with Zach Tom out that doesn't carry a ton of weight. But they must like Dillard and what he's given them so far in the offseason program. So that's a thumbs up, right? Like maybe the change of scenery is good. And something we know about Green Bay is they are so good at the offensive line position typically and developing and having guys that stand out at that position, specifically in the depth spots, right? Like 6 through 8. When injuries pop up throughout the season, they're always comfortable throwing another guy out there. So if Dillard falls into that category, sign me up. Right, like just as a depth piece, as a guy that will be trotted out there in case of injury, and obviously today in the mandatory minicamp when you're dealing with the injury for Zach Tom. Yeah, I like it. I like seeing that. I'm curious what we get out of Jordan Morgan here as they've got, like I mentioned, some live drills going on. Grant DeBose makes a nice catch today. Quay Walker almost had an interception of Jordan Love during a 2-minute drill. Here we go from Wes Hodkiewicz, Packers.com, just coming through in a 2-minute drill. 2 18-yard completions for Love. First to Reed and then to Luke Musgrave. And then you had a Carl Brooks pass deflection at the line of scrimmage. And then a Romeo Dobbs 11-yard completion. And then kicking competition news. Jack Podlesny, good from 49 yards to cap off that 2-minute drive. So there you go. Couple of mini camp updates for you. Let's talk about this. Jordan Love met with the media yesterday after mandatory mini camps, and he really said nothing. I'd usually play the video for you, but I just don't think it's worthwhile. He essentially gave 4-word answers. 4-word answers of like, yeah, I like to be involved. And yeah, I think they'll get it done. And yeah, you can just tell he doesn't want to talk about it. And that's okay. And we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers later, but it's just a completely different scenario now with Jordan Love. You are dealing with a guy who just doesn't mind the nonsense. He wants to talk ball, and these conversations about his contract are a distraction from ball. And you can tell that Love he just knows it's going to get done. It's going to get done in somewhere between, we imagine, the $50 and $55 million range, maybe higher. It'll be a 4 or 5 year deal, we assume, because that's what all these quarterback deals are. And that's that. You could just tell Love is sick of talking about it. There was 5 questions in a matter of 30 seconds that he answered with 5 words or less. He just, I almost feel for him. Like, it comes with the spotlight, obviously, as you're being viewed as one of the best up-and-coming quarterbacks, and you're being viewed as the face of the franchise. So I don't feel bad for him necessarily because it comes with the territory, but you can tell he just doesn't want to talk about it. He wants his agent and his camp and the Packers to come to a deal, get it over with, and he pretty much the big part of his conversation yesterday was, he thinks it'll be done by training camp, which is July 22nd. So I would guess in a month's time, we're talking about conversations heating up, and the deal will get done, and it's over and done with. And Jordan Love will be one of the top 5 paid quarterbacks in the NFL as it stands right now. That's where I'm at out at Hunter. Am I missing the 8 ball on this? Like, am I off in my takeaways from Jordan Love and what the situation stands at on June 12th?
No, I think he trusts the guys in his camp. Like, he wouldn't have those responses. I did like the text message on the private line that Josh DiMaggio sent to us, wanting to know what it is exactly that makes Jordan Love not care about that attention.
Joshy, floor is yours. As you get set up back here at the Gruber Law Offices, One Call That's All studio at the
did I not stall enough for him?
Yours. No, you didn't. It's okay.
I had to change multiple things, Hunter. You did fine. It was on me. I I don't think you can say definitively either way what Jordan Love's response means. I think you can wonder, is this athletes first and Jordan's representation telling him to start to apply public pressure? Is it the deal like in the audio, which I think would have been of value to listen to, but we can discuss that later. At the end, where
okay,
Rob
you
Domofsky,
suit. Continue.
When Rob Domofsky says, does that mean a deal's close? Is a deal close and Jordan Love doesn't want to mess anything up? I think saying he just wants to play ball.
I think it's accurate.
Sure, you can think that. Sure, that could be part of your opinion. But there's a lot more to the story than just simply, because he didn't say, I just want to talk ball. He had the opportunity to say that.
Yeah.
He chose not.
But he's not going to come off that way.
No,
it's Jordan Love.
What you can say is, I'm leaving that to my agent.
That's what he said last time.
They're working on it.
And that's pretty much what he said last time.
And then you know what you do when
Which
you
was
get
last
asked
week.
the same question, you repeat it. And when he said, I like to be involved, means he's taking part of it.
But who wouldn't want to be involved? It's money that's coming to your bank account.
You're involved at some level, but he's indicating, well, how much are you involved? I don't think you can just assume he's sick and tired of talking about it. Talking about money is uncomfortable for anyone.
Let's do this. Let's listen to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I will give you the floor once again, but I have zero takeaways from this other than Jordan Love is sick of talking about the contract extension that is coming within the next month and a half. Here's Jordan Love in the locker room yesterday.
Goody said, yeah, we'd like to get Jordan deals done before starting training camp. Do you have a sense that things will pick up after this mini camp between now and July 22nd?
Yeah, I think they should. I mean, what he said.
Are you optimistic that something could get done by then?
Yes.
What makes you optimistic?
This is what I've heard.
How have you handled this process in terms of, do you like to know what's going on and what's being said, or do you just try to disconnect from it?
What is that?
The process of what's going on in the contract negotiations?
Oh, yeah, I like being in the mix.
And that's that?
That's that. Keep it short, yeah, it is.
We've yet to find a topic you like talking about less than this one.
By that look, it sounds like maybe you guys are close.
There's a lot of nuance in what happens there. When he's asked,
Is there? I don't think there is a lot of nuance
the video
there.
is valuable. Because
Josh is
when he says-
reaching.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's what we say every time. I was reaching too when I said Aaron Rodgers isn't happy and he's not going to be here.
Okay.
But then it doesn't matter.
Hey, I was right this one time. You got to trust me on everything.
Even a blind nut
Contract
finds a
stuff.
squirrel.
Excuse me?
I've been more right than anyone.
Hold
else
on.
here.
Did you do that on purpose? I've never heard it backwards.
Yeah.
What?
He said even a blind nut finds a squirrel. I've never heard it backwards like that.
I didn't even notice it. I just thought he said the correct term.
Okay. Anyway, I don't think there's a lot of nuance here. It seems to me that Jordan Love just doesn't want to talk about it. The video isn't. I mean, yes, it's maybe as a visual more valuable, but like he just. I think he just looks uncomfortable the entire
Right, because
time.
that's a convenient belief to have. It makes things seem nice. Everything's working together. But would it be crazy that the Packers are offering Jordan Love something that he views as not realistic as an offer? Yes or no?
He wouldn't be there.
What do you mean he wouldn't be there?
He wouldn't be a mandatory minicamp. Huh?
I pressed off. You think he would sit out? You think
Yes.
if the contract offer wasn't where
If
it
it
would
was
be,
disrespectful, yeah. Absolutely. Who wouldn't?
I think that's crazy.
Why is that crazy?
Because he has to set himself apart from Aaron Rodgers. And sitting out would be a misstep because training camp is the deadline we've all talked about from day one.
Yes.
So advancing that because you don't like where their offer is would be crazy. So what you would do is get in front of microphones and act ornery about the questions.
But he's not acting ornery. He's acting annoyed.
I think giving less than 25 words when asked multiple questions is acting. You see, this is the part you can interpret it any way, but I think he just wants to talk ball is like ignoring any potential.
Let me ask you an honest question.
Yes.
Aside from this, like just overall, so our jobs are weird, right? Like as producers and hosts at a sports media station in Wisconsin, over the course of the last 5 years, we've been trained to really overanalyze what people say, right? Especially with Aaron Rodgers, the guy you referenced before. Correct. Anytime he talked, we had to interpret it because he was vague, or he'd shoot out random tweets. Same with Bakhtiari. We're like, we'd have to overread.
He was vague. His comments were loaded.
Yes, it's probably a better way to phrase it. You're right. So we were almost used to overreading the quote unquote tea leaves. Do you feel like you're doing that here? Do you feel like you're reading too much into this, or do you feel like this is appropriate in this scenario?
I feel like when you take into consideration the agency, the person who's representing him, and then contracts when it comes to this high level, like it's not crazy for other, like this happens across the NFL.
Yep.
People do this everywhere. It's not just an Aaron Rodgers related thing. And then my second point to that would be, well, that's kind of our job. We have to make it interesting. So Jordan Love just wanted to talk about ball. What are we talking about then?
I don't think there's much to talk about. I think this is going to get done. That's my point, Josh.
I don't doubt it won't get done. But to say it's like everything's hunky-dory,
I think
crazy.
it is.
Because
it's not crazy.
When you contextualize that with how he sounded earlier in the offseason, he wasn't his tone
it was 2 weeks ago.
3.
Was it 3?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
I played it earlier today.
Okay.
I saw the date on it.
I saw the date on it. Thank you for the correction. Thank you for making me a more accurate host. I appreciate that. But I think he sounded very similar 3 weeks ago, Joshy.
I don't. I think there was a distinct tone change and a curt and brusque nature to the way he sounded. And it could be nothing. I'm not ruling that out. He could just be annoyed. But to discount the other things as not really a possibility, I think isn't giving situations that get ugly often the proper respect.
I just don't. Maybe I'm being naive and thinking this one won't get ugly. Hunter, go ahead.
I just want to know from Josh and you too, Strouf, if I were to come in every single day and ask you, say, a question about your relationship that you don't really want to talk about, and I do it multiple times a day, every single day, and then I'm going to bring it up on my radio show and every TV show across the state, would you eventually be annoyed with me asking you that question and then talking about it? Like, that's what we're talking about here. Like, of course he's going to start to get annoyed about everything because he gets asked about it every day.
I think you're right, Hunter. I'm with you.
He talks about it once a week.
But that doesn't mean Jason and Rob and the rest of the guys aren't asking him about it. Like, that people in that building are asking him about it. It's getting talked about. Anytime he turns his phone on, he's going to see things about it. That's the world we live in.
Yeah, and that's why you would be understanding of. Let's take it this way. Jordan Love has not behaved this way in the media ever before.
Because he hasn't had a contract conversation like this ever before.
So it's just the contract. It's just the fact that it's based on money. Because Jordan Love, up until this point, has gotten in front of a microphone and done exactly as everyone would hope and expect.
Yep.
And this time was a tone change. So yesterday was a mistake by Jordan Love. He let his emotions get the best of him. Because that has to be the argument.
I don't think it's I don't think it's anything to do with his emotions getting the best.
Questions. That's his job.
So you're right. That is part of his job.
Correct.
Is to answer the questions. I felt like he answered them not well. I'm not going to say he did a great job. He's not a wordsmith, right? Like, he's not ready to go be a New York Times bestseller after that performance. But I think the extreme difference in every interview, press conference, etc. he did a year ago versus yesterday was what, Josh? It wasn't about ball.
Yeah, but it was
about him.
He's been asked about him plenty.
Well, of course he has, but it's about his ball and his upbringing and his college career and sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. It's all ball related.
Then say I would rather talk about football. I don't
disagree with that.
There is a misstep here from Jordan Love.
There wasn't.
It's not like I'm not saying it's a cardinal sin or he committed some act of treason against Packers fans. But there's a difference. There's a difference in behavior.
Slight, maybe. But
slight.
Slight because
he didn't answer two of the questions at the end.
Yes, because why would he?
He's giving. My agent's going to talk about it. My agent's dealing with.
I'll talk to you about it once the paperwork's filed. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
But we all know it's going to get there. We all know he doesn't want to talk about it. Clearly, we would agree on that, right?
He seemed pretty open to talk about it before.
It was pretty quick. It was pretty quick last time, too. It was a bunch of nothing burgers.
Yeah, and he got through it without people going, why is his attitude? Why does it seem like he's mad?
I don't think he seemed mad.
That's fine.
Interesting.
I think Josh just really enjoyed the last few years of disliking the quarterback of his team, and he wants it desperately again.
I don't think he wants to dislike Jordan Love because he's a huge Love guy. But he wants to talk about a little drama. You like the drama. That's okay. I like the drama, too. But there's no drama to be found here.
Dismiss it.
I'm not trying to dismiss anything. You know me, Josh. I love drama.
You'd rather be talking about Caleb Williams.
Oh, stop it. Well, there's more drama there because he might stink. And we know Jordan Love doesn't stink. We know he doesn't stink.
Do we? People will make you believe we're not sure. I think he's good.
Yes, he's good. What the hell are we doing? You've completely taken over the program.
I'm just improving Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you made that more of a conversation than it was. Because I was just going to breeze, but we were going to be 3 questions into the true or false by now.
I thank you for my service.
He's the best. Josh DiMaggio, Milwaukee hero, producer Jen Gabe and Chewy, weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. All right, that's the Jordan Love conversation. It was one, I guess, worth having. A little bit. Josh, I'll give you your flowers. Although I still think it's a ginormous nothing burger, and he just doesn't want to talk about it. We listened to it. We discussed it. I don't think it's any more simple than this. Jordan Love doesn't give a damn. He gives a damn, but not publicly. He's going to get paid. He's going to get his whatever, $150 million guaranteed, a 4 or 5 year deal with the Green Bay Packers. He's going to be the face of the franchise, and it'll be done in a month and a half. And to be real honest with you, I can't wait until we get there. I'm ready to talk about ball, just like Jordan Love. I'm also ready to tell you about Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. Their location is in Carlsville. They've got some special, if you're going up to Door County, which, by the way, beautiful weekend coming up. So I don't doubt that you are. Beautiful, beautiful weekend. Stop in there, do the tour, do the tastings, see some of the limited edition products they have there, or check them out locally, Madison, Milwaukee, wherever you are, doorcountydistillery.com. Find the retailer nearest you, whether it's that cherry vodka, whether it's that signature bottle of gin, which we'll see in the video here coming up in a second, or whether it's the whiskeys, which I love. You've got the bourbon, multiple-time award-winning. You've got the, I believe it is like 28-time award-winning single malt whiskey. Terrific. Then you've got the rye whiskey as well, which I also love. And all the in-betweens. DoorCountyDistillery.com for a full list of unique cocktail recipes and the retailer nearest you. We're back in 60 to play 10 quick questions, true or false, about the Green Bay Packers' upcoming season. That's next. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf. Back at Door County Distillery in Carlsville, Wisconsin, with my friend Beth from Door County Distillery. We're mixing up the peach gin and juice today. That sounds like Snoop Dogg would love it. Talk to me, Beth. What are we mixing?
So we're using our gin, our flagship gin today. It's gin, lemonade, a little grenadine, and then our peach wine. So you remember the Carlsville sour we did last year?
I do, very well, yeah.
Same concept. It's just the gradient's gonna be in reverse. So we're gonna start with 1.5 ounces of our gin.
The classic green bottle.
We're gonna do 1 ounce of grenadine, 2 ounces of our lemonade. We're gonna stir that with our bar spoon.
Got it, before we add the wine.
And then we're gonna use the back of our bar spoon to float the peach wine on top. And there we go.
Looks like summer to me, Beth. Cheers.
Cheers.
The peach gin and juice from Door County Distillery with my friend Beth. Check out their website with a huge list of unique cocktail recipes at doorcountydistillery.com. That's doorcountydistillery.com. All right, let's get into this. So I had the idea of ahead of now that so the way the Packers mandatory minicamp works out, for those of you not aware, which I literally wasn't until Monday. So it's 3 days technically. Day 1 and 2 are real practices. Day 3 is more of like a team building opportunity and then meetings, right? So in past years, you may remember the Packers have gone out and played paintball or gone bowling or just done like a team building activity that you probably do at your work once a year, right? Like that's their opportunity to do it for the Green Bay Packers. So tomorrow is not a practice. Tomorrow there's no media availability. Tomorrow is more so, hey, let's get out of here together and do something together before, we get the real offseason. The next 6 weeks are pretty much empty until July 22nd, really the 20th and 21st when players arrive to the Green Bay area. I don't know if they still do the St. Norbert thing that they used to do where they would stay on campus. I know they did that prior to the pandemic. I don't know if they've brought that back yet, but at St. Norbert College in De Pere. But really, this is the real offseason now. Because think about it from a rookie's perspective. You have the college football season, you have the bowl game, that ends December, January. And then you have prep, combines, pro days, interviews, stuff like that, January, February, March, and then all of a sudden April is the draft. You're flying into Green Bay, you're doing rookie camp, you're doing OTAs, and then you're doing mandatory minicamp, and now you finally get a break for the next 6 weeks up until July 22nd when training camp begins. And then obviously it's the ramp up. You've got joint practices, you've got preseason games, and then we really get into the weeds of the regular season in early September. So this is the best time to do something like this, which is before we get into training camp, before we see who's popping off the page, before we see joint practices, before we see preseason games. What the hell's the season going to look like? Hunter has written 10 true or false questions for me. We're going to fly through them, and then we'll look at some takeaways, and then we'll wrap up with some negativity and some positivity at the end of the show. Hunter, question 1.
All right. Had to get some good music for this as well.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
The Packers will only enter one game this year as more than 6.5-point underdogs. And that game will be the December 5th game at Detroit.
Yeah, no. False. They'll enter 0 games as a 6.5-point underdog. They have San Francisco at home. That's a 3-point swing. I think they're going to be viewed better or right with Detroit, so I think a touchdown's too big. I'm going to say false. I don't think they're a 6.5-point underdog in any game this year. It's a great question.
Number 2, I saw this from day 1 of minicamp that the Packers are using a video board during practice to rewind 11 on 11, and I hadn't ever seen a team do that. So, true or false, more teams will start using video screens at practice because of the Packers.
The Packers are pioneers, baby. It's true. Yeah, I missed this, Hunter, so I'm glad you caught it. They are live rewinding 11 on 11s at minicamp?
Yep, they have a video board
fantastic.
out there. Yeah, I was shocked that no one else has done that before. Number 3, true or false, Marshawn Lloyd will have more total yards than A.J. Dillon at the end of the year.
So I have talked about this around the draft. I have not talked about it since. My answer is true here. I do think Marshawn Lloyd will be back 2, and A.J. Dillon will be complimentary back 3 / he's just so similar to Josh Jacobs. You need a little bit of dynamic ability in the backfield, right? So if you tried out Jacobs and Dillon in a 2 running back set, it's almost like it's a good comparison. William Henderson and Amon Green, just like 2 Amon Green was more shifty. That's probably a bad example. John Kuhn and William Henderson. I know they never played together. I don't know. I think Marshawn Lloyd will have more. You said yards?
Yes, total yards.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he's more of a threat in the passing game, although Dillon's solid there. I think Lloyd, maybe not this year, but will develop into a better option in the passing game. So I will say true in his rookie year, Marshawn Lloyd has more total yards than A.J. Dillon, though it might be close.
Number 4, Jordan Love will have more than 35 total touchdowns.
That's a good question. True. Total touchdowns, true. If you would have said passing, I would say false. But total? I think you can go 35 or more. Yeah, let's go true here. I think it'll be really close.
Yeah,
I think he's probably operating because you got to think about it this way, right? So if he's throwing 2 touchdown passes per game for all 17, that's 34. And if he rushes 1 or 2 or has a 4 touchdown game and he just kind of has 2 touchdowns a game average, I talked about it on Monday's show. Consistency is what I want out of Jordan Love this year because last year was so roller coastering up and down. I would say he's probably in the total touchdown category. He's probably somewhere in like the 37, 38 range. It's going to be close. That's a good number.
Yeah, I also think that in the red zone, he's going to have some open lanes just because of all of the weapons that the Packers have, that defenses are going to care more about that, and he'll just be like, well, it's wide open. I'm just going to run it up for the 7-yard touchdown run. Number 5, true or false, at week 8, Green Bay will have 2 receivers with more yards than CD Lamb.
So say that one more time.
At week 8, the Packers will have 2 receivers with more yards than CD Lamb.
That's false. That's false.
Have you seen
Why
the first
week eight?
half of the
'Cause that's-
Cowboys' schedule?
I have not, but that doesn't mean CeeDee Lamb's not going to catch footballs. Does he have really bad matchups in the first 8 weeks?
They have San Francisco in that one. I believe they've got Philly once. I'm trying to pull up the exact schedule. It is tough for them. They've got at the Browns, home against the Ravens. They've got the Steelers, the Lions, the 49ers, and then the Eagles. It's a tough first half for Dallas.
It is, but I don't really. I mean, there's a couple lockdown guys there who will probably shadow Lamb, but I just look. I view CeeDee Lamb as the second best receiver in football behind Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to get his, and I think Jordan Love, especially first 8 weeks of the season, will spread around the ball too much. Maybe one, right? Like, could Jaden Reed have more total yards than CeeDee Lamb by week 8? Sure. I just don't think there will be two guys above Lamb when he's a true number one bona fide stud option for Dallas. And him and Dak have great chemistry. So I would guess he'll still be in the top 10, top 15 in receiving yards through 8 weeks because that's just too much time for Lamb not to get his. So I will say false, but I it's an interesting question. But no, I just don't think there's two guys above Lamb by that point.
Number 6, the NFC North will have only 2 playoff teams. I know you've said that this is the best division in football.
I have. I would say that is true. It'll be Detroit and Green Bay in the playoffs, and Chicago will be on the outside looking in. I think they're probably the 8th seed at maybe 9-8, 8-9. They're probably just on the outside looking in. I think Chicago slightly improves their record from a year ago because they do have in favor also like a last place schedule or an easier schedule than Detroit and Green Bay have. But yeah, I don't think all 3 get in. So I would say probably Detroit and Green Bay, and that's it in the postseason this year. But this is one I could be wrong on. They could get 3 in. But I would guess just 2 the way it shakes out. Because, look, the NFC East will probably have 2 in Philly and Dallas. The NFC West probably has at least 2. San Francisco and the Rams are probably both going to get in. And that's 6 teams right there without talking about the South winner. So I would guess just 2.
I also think the Seahawks could potentially sneak in. The West could get 3 teams in. It'd be tough, but I think that they could do it.
But then you got to eliminate a team from the division, right?
Exactly.
Because you only get 2 what is it, 3 wild cards now or 2?
3
wild cards now. Yeah, so you knock out either Philly or Green Bay or Detroit or Dallas in that sentence. I mean, it's interesting, but yeah, I doubt it.
Number 7, true or false, the Packers will have more than 1 kicker start a game this season.
So it's funny you say that because it just came through. Minicamp is over for the Green Bay Packers. The next time you will see the Packers on the field is July 22nd, the opening of training camp. Minicamp ended today, Hunter. You'll like this. All 3 kickers good from 54 yards.
Okay, great.
That's how minicamp
Just pick
ended
a guy
today.
and go with a guy.
I would say false. I think the Packers will stick with whoever they have a kicker, barring injury, throughout the season. I think it will be Anders Carlson. But, Durst, I wouldn't doubt if they go a different direction, but I think they will stick with one the entire year, whether that's Greg Joseph, whether that's Durst, whether that's Jack Podlesny. I think it'll be one guy the entire year.
Number 8, true or false, both the offense and defense will finish in the top 10 at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's false. I have high hopes for this defense, but I think they're probably more in the 15 to 10 range than they are in the top 10 range. I hope I'm wrong on this, obviously. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is number 1 and number 1, and this is the Super Bowl champion that goes 20-0. But I would guess one of them will slip. I would guess I feel more comfortable saying this is a top 10 offense than I do saying it's a top 10 defense just because we haven't seen it yet. But the buzz around it is fun. The excitement around Jeff Hafley's defense is fun. But no, I would guess one of those groups is on the outside looking in when it comes to the top 10.
Number 9, true or false, Lucas Van Ness will finish the year in the top 5 in the NFL in sacks.
False. No, false. I feel much better about the guy on the screen right now finishing in that category than I do about Lucas Van Ness. Rashawn Gary being featured on the YouTube stream, ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee. But no, look, I think Van Ness will make a nice jump. I think he'll see more playing time. I think he'll be a little bit more maniacal on the field. But no, I don't think he's top. What did you say, top 5 or top 10 in the league? I don't think he's either of them. But
I said top 5.
Yeah, no chance. No chance. I shouldn't say no chance. Maybe he comes in and he's making a push for Defensive Player of the Year. But when you think about the dogs across the league that are known for getting after the quarterback, hello, TJ Watt. No, I don't think so. Myles Garrett, I don't think Van Ness will take a leap that big from a guy who just really didn't. He played, he got some meaningful reps last year, but he's not even viewed as a starter right now. It's still Smith and Gary as the defensive ends in this new defense. So no, I don't think so. But I like your faith. Are you just proving that I'm not like a totally biased Packers fan and I just say true to everything? True?
I mean, it was a little bit of that. I also if you were to say of the guys from last year who's going to make a big jump from one year to the next, I have this gut feeling that he might be the guy. Like, it was me just kind of taking a chance.
He might be. He's a first-round pick, but defensively, a guy that I'm really intrigued by taking a big year 2 jump is Carl Brooks. I thought at the end of the year last year, he was a menace inside. And I think he'll have the opportunity early this year to solidify himself as a starter alongside Kenny Clark. So that's actually a storyline I'm really intrigued with, is that D-line come training camp July 22nd. But I would guess probably not for Van Ness. All right, one more, Hunter.
Our last one, true or false? By the start of the regular season, Jordan Love will be the 4th highest paid quarterback in the league.
And we're looking at that for a per year.
Per year.
Okay. Top 4?
Yep.
So
right now where it
the
sits.
Top 4 right now would be
Joe Burrow's at 55. Jared Goff's 53. Herbert is 52.5. And then you have Lamar Jackson at 52.
Then yes. My answer is yes. I think he's going to be Herbert territory minimum, 52.5. So yes, true.
But then what about the
Lamar
fact
Jackson,
that there's other guys who have contracts coming up as well? Do you think he's going to get paid enough to not get pushed down by Dak and the other guys?
But will Dak get paid this year?
Probably. If he's going to get paid,
question.
he's going to get paid this year.
I think it'll be next year.
I don't think so. I think there's a chance he could hold out.
You would know better than me. You're the Cowboys fan. You would know better than me on Dak Prescott.
I have a feeling there's a chance that the Cowboys have both Dak and CeeDee Lamb holding out. I think it's a very real possibility for them.
I think so too.
And we may not see Dak for a while because he may just be like, no, I want to get paid.
I'm still going to say true, though, because I wouldn't be shocked if this deal ends up in a territory in terms of average salary that's over Goff, who stands at number 2 at 53 a year. What if it's 53.5 for Love? Right? Then I think he solidifies himself up there. So I would say that's true. I think Jordan Love will be a top 4 highest paid quarterback. There you go. True or false? Green Bay Packers questions leading into the 2024 offseason, technically, /season. That was fun. Good questions, Hunter. Nice work.
Thank you.
Let's get negative, and then we'll get positive to wrap up the show. Well, it actually might be a positive, depending on your feelings on Aaron Rodgers. For Josh DiMaggio, he's going to be very happy with what I'm about to talk about. Aaron Rodgers, inexcused absence from New York Jets mandatory minicamp. Oh, my goodness. I'm so happy we're over this. This is the same guy who less than 6 months ago said we need to eliminate all distractions from the building. And maybe he took that literally because nobody in the NFL is a bigger distraction to their team and their roster and their hopes of winning a championship than Aaron Rodgers. This is the same guy who 2 months ago we were discussing. He may legitimately quit football to run for the vice president of the United States with RFK. This is the same guy who misses OTAs with the Packers for how many years at the end of his tenure and then is attending OTAs, but now misses a mandatory minicamp for a quote-unquote thing that was important to him. And I don't know what that thing is. But regardless, if Robert Saleh says it's important to him, but it isn't an excused absence and he is subject to fine, that means it ain't that important to Robert Saleh. It ain't that important to the New York Jets. It isn't that important to the development of the young players on their offense. It's not that important. It's inexcused. I'm so glad we're done with this. So to go back to the Jordan Love discussion, debate, and everything we had earlier in the show, I'm so glad this is what we're talking about with Jordan Love and the Packers quarterback. We're talking about he's giving short answers at his locker. But is it more? No, it's not more. He's done talking about it. With Aaron Rodgers, is he doing ayahuasca in Peru? Is he hanging out with Miles Teller and playing guitar in Hawaii? Why isn't he at a mandatory minicamp when he played 3 snaps or 4 snaps last year for the New York Jets? I'm so glad we're over it. I'm so glad we're through it. Because it's just ridiculous at this point. Ridiculous. He preaches something and doesn't practice it. He's the biggest hypocrite in the National Football League. I'm so glad we don't have to talk about it anymore. I'm talking about it because I'm pointing out the differences here. The difference is Jordan Love says a few words and maybe we're blowing it out of proportion a little bit because we know he's going to get paid at some point. But yeah, obviously we want to know what's going on with it. But yeah, Jordan Love's not going to show his hand. That's fine. I get it. Whereas for this dork, 6 months ago, it was, hey, we got to eliminate all distractions for the building. And then 2 months later, it's, hey, he might be the vice president on the independent card in this year's election. And then it's darkness retreats and Pat McAfee show. He's the distraction. There's no bigger distraction in professional sports, period, than him. Biggest hypocrite in the league. Biggest hypocrite in professional sports. Thank goodness we moved on. Thank God it worked, right? Like, thank God Jordan Love's good. Thank God it's over. All right, I'm done with the negativity. Let's talk positivity. It's time now for what we learned. Chime in on the YouTube chat what you learned. I want to start with one of our teammates. Something exciting happening today on ESPN. Jen Latta, Joshy produces for her every morning. Jen Latta of Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, weekday morning 7 to 9 on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Also College Game Day on ESPN. Making her debut on my favorite show growing up, Around the Horn today. 4 p.m. Central on ESPN, hosted by the great Tony Reale. Jen Latta will be one of the panelists on Around the Horn today. Making her debut. Go Jen, first off. It's the one like cool sports game show that's survived decades now. You shoot off takes, you get points, and ultimately, if you win, you get FaceTime. Love Around the Horn. Happy for Jen. Going to be fun. We'll carry a little bit of all of our answers on Kyle Bruston-Ortman coming up from 2 to 5 on ESPN Wisconsin. We will carry it, of course, in the 414 hour, beginning at 4 o'clock when it airs on ESPN. But happy for Jen. That is awesome. To have one of the people we have in the building here at ESPN Milwaukee on ESPN TV tonight, or this afternoon, on Around the Horn. I hope she wins, man. I hope she smokes the competition. And one thing I do hope, which I don't know if this is true or not, I do not know who's on the show with her. I need like a funny Woody Page billboard today, or chalkboard, because that's what makes that show great as well. So that is what I learned. Is Jen Latta making her debut on Around the Horn. Awesome stuff.
Strouf, I learned that we know who the Wisconsin Badgers volleyball team will be playing, as they released a video, and I think we should just air it here and get our reactions to it. What do you think?
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
One moment, it might help if we actually have some audio for it. And, of course, it did not download with the audio. So, never mind.
Oh, okay.
I completely fumbled that.
Okay.
I'll just read you through the schedule here. Completely fumbled that.
Fantastic.
No idea why the audio didn't download. So we already knew they're kicking off the season with Louisville. We're just moving on. We're moving on. They've got Texas and Stanford in the Women's College Volleyball Showcase.
Okay, when's that?
That'll be September 1st and September 2nd. Those are both at Pfizer
where?
Forum.
Milwaukee, let's go.
The Big 10, Big 12 Challenge. They'll be going down to Waco.
Through all 40 of these games?
Yes. At least they're early games.
Here?
They have big games early on, okay? TCU and Baylor. They'll host Marquette September 17th, and that'll be at the
don't forget about
Fieldhouse.
Milwaukee. They're hosting Milwaukee on September 10th.
Okay, great.
I'm sitting up the street from Panther Arena. You got to show some love to the in-state teams. All right, we could skip Troy. I want to talk conference. When did they play Nebraska?
I was getting that. I'm literally scrolling through it as we're doing this, okay? I have no clue.
This is the worst schedule rollout ever.
November 1st. Friday, November 1st. They're at Lincoln.
Dude,
there you go.
I'm stopping you. I need everybody in Madison to understand what Thanksgiving week is for you. Thanksgiving Day, night game, Lambeau Field, Packers, Dolphins. Friday morning at Camp Randall, Minnesota, Wisconsin football for the Axe on a Friday morning at Camp Randall. And then Saturday, time TBA, you have Wisconsin at Nebraska volleyball, which will be on the Big Ten Network. That is a hell of a schedule. And then Hunter mentioned it. They host Nebraska November 1st. I was kind of hoping that game on the 23rd would be a home game. They wrap up their season with Michigan State at the Fieldhouse November 30th, and then hopefully they can bookend Louisville on their schedule. They play at Louisville to start the season, the Final Four this year in Louisville. You can find the full schedule at uwbadgers.com, and you can hear for the first time this year every Badgers volleyball game on your new home for Wisconsin volleyball, 100.5 ESPN in Madison, as well as 620 WTMJ in Milwaukee. How do you think that went, Hunter?
As poorly as it possibly could.
1 out of 10. How'd you do?
Oh, that was a negative 10. Nothing went well for me. Nothing. No idea why we had no audio for it. Literally just
I don't know.
I have no idea. That was bad. I got it. Hey, I've got another show this week. We're going to bounce back. We're going to be fine. Yep. This was just a tough outing, and we'll be fine. We'll bounce back. Hopefully I spell everything right on Friday, and we're good.
Can you promise me that on Friday we'll have video with sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said confident. We might need Wollersheim to fill in on Friday. This is
yeah,
something.
We might have to call the
big
bullpen.
Thanks to Joshy. Yeah, we might. Big thanks to Joshy. Kind of a thanks to Tiny Hands for running the show as always. No, nice job, Hunter. You did really well on the true and false part of the show. Everything else was a little rough, but you did well there.
Yeah, I had a great opening 5 innings. Probably should have gotten pulled after the 5th inning, and the 6th inning we fell apart.
Skeens.
Yeah,
just like Paul
exactly.
Skeens. And Joshy is like the St. Louis Cardinals fans yesterday at Busch Stadium, tipping the cap to Paul Skeens, who had like a fine start. 6 1/3, he was pulled, and then the Cardinals fans gave him a standing O. I didn't get that at all. I don't understand. Best fans of baseball. What a joke. What a bunch of dorks in St. Louis. Me and Joshy, before the show, full transparency, we were discussing the worst state in America. We decided that Missouri does not take the cake, but they are close. And the Cardinals fans, I'm being a little biased, recency bias, tipping their cap and giving Paul Skeens a standing O. Nice job at 6 innings, bro. Great job. Nice job in your 6 innings, Hunter. You did pretty solid.
Thank you.
We're back with you Friday beginning at 12:30 on the ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison YouTube channels, and available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Show brought to you by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits. We will talk to you Friday. I'm Alex Strouf. Peace.